Thank you for joining us today on 10 Minutes with the Artist, an episodic series that explores the art practice and the personal vision that guides artists. On today's episode, we're very proud to have Cassie Baasch, who exhibited works from her series A Poem from Home at North Dakota State University's Memorial Union Gallery. A Poem from Home includes paintings that depict the labor associated with the daily task necessary to keeping up a farm. The works show the living and the mechanical in equal measure, represented in an almost celebratory manner. This series represents a deeply personal perspective that it can't help but recognize the poetic innocence of place. I'm Anthony Ferris, and this is 10 Minutes with the Artist. So Cassie, thank you so very much for joining us today on 10 Minutes with the Artist. There's sort of two ways of looking at your work. One would be looking at your work as sort of like the scenic, and then the other one would be looking at it through the eyes of work and sort of working the land. And I was wondering what the relationship between those two were.
Between the scenic and how I'm working with the land?
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, when you're in a rural situation, it's all about the land. You're always outside. You're always seeing the scenery, but most importantly, you're seeing what you're doing within the scenery. So sometimes you have things put over top of the scenery, like in my mirror painting, you always mention that it's in front of this beautiful landscape, and it's important that that landscape's there because that's part of what I see every day, but the most important part is the work that I'm doing, which is why the mirror is there, which is why all this machinery shows up in my work. So, including the livestock is in front of, you can see there's this landscape in the background, but you only get a glimpse of it because that's not what I want people to see. I want to see the more close picture of what I do.
Okay. There is like an intimacy to that. There's also a really interesting way in which the way that you sort of treat the paintings. You have a very realistic quality that goes, that you focus on like the foreground, and then there's like sort of a looser quality to the background often. And I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about your process in sort of making those decisions, and if that's a hallmark of the way that you paint or just the way that you are painting these.
Okay, well, honestly, this is more my style, and I do that a lot in the backgrounds. It's fuzzier because it's not the focus of the painting like I was mentioning earlier, and I like the focus to be clear because it's up close, especially like in the dash of my tractor or my cow. It's clearer. That's the focal point of the painting, and that's what I want people to pay attention to. The background is there as almost a formality in some of them, but most of them, it's just representing movement. Like when you're moving in the tractor, when you're moving in the pickup, it's blurry because it's representing that you are moving. And the other ones, it's there because it's a part of the atmosphere that I'm creating, and that's kind of important to be able to see the setting of where these animals are or where you are when you're working and doing these tasks on the farm. It's important to get the entire view of it.
It's so interesting that you said that it's almost formal in a way. It makes me wonder how important, I mean, the landscape supplements the work, but your relationship to the land is almost seems like more through the process of like the mechanical parts of it, or the process oriented.
Yeah, it's kind of become more that way because in agriculture, that's what you're working towards, and you spend more time fixing machinery and figuring out how to run it than you actually do out in the field doing things. So you kind of get more of a sense within machinery while you're out there. So it's kind of, yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Many of your works are flanked by other pieces, and I was wondering what the relationship was between one work and the next work.
Well, in my one painting where it is the bale trailer and the pickup in the mirror, you get to see a glimpse of the bale trailer in the mirror, and you don't really get to see the whole picture. You see that there's something behind the pickup, but not the whole thing. And the purpose of the other painting on that one was to see that that's a very long trailer. It's as long as a semi-trailer, and that's the whole, you're carrying 9 bales, and I wanted people to see that there's more to it than just that mirror. There's that huge trailer that you're lugging around. And same with the tractor piece. The grain cart, when you're running grain cart in the fall, there's a lot to it. You have to keep up with the combine, which is what I show in one of the small paintings, the combine with its auger out and ready to be dumped. And then it goes to the tractor, which is bigger because that's the main part of what I do. I'm in the tractor, and that's the subject that I'm portraying. And then from the tractor, you go on to the semi. And I have that off to the side because that's the last thing that you do. So it also goes in the order of the process. And I wanted people to see the whole experience because that tractor could be doing anything. There could be anything behind it. So I wanted the smaller paintings to be able to show the whole perspective of the task. So.
Well, do you feel like these, I've been talking about them as paintings, but do you think of like the 3 together as being one painting? Do they like?
I do. They are all one painting. The one is the diptych, the one is the triptych, because it's not quite complete without all of them together.
Okay. Are these pieces like unique to, say, North Dakota, or is there more of like a larger context to this, or where does that sort of like line get drawn between sort of the specificity of the place that you're painting and the larger quality of, say, working on a farm? Or
this is more, it's not going to be just specific to North Dakota. I mean, these are scenes that you'd see in the whole upper Midwestern area because many people have cows and horses and they do this farm work. And honestly, they are more of a rural aspect, but not everybody has a livestock and an agricultural farm. So I get both views of that, and I wanted to show that within my paintings. But also because this isn't specific to North Dakota, more people can relate to it. They're like, oh, that's what it looks like where I'm from. It's not necessarily North Dakota. It's just a farm that's my home, which I'm representing, and so many people can relate to it, which is nice because it doesn't have to be just about this place, North Dakota, even if that's what it is for me. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So at the very end of our interviews, we'd like to ask a few questions about your sort of creative practice. So I was curious what time of day you feel like you're most creative?
That is a good question. I think in the morning.
Okay.
Because when you wake up, you feel so refreshed, and then sometimes you have all these ideas. I don't know if you dream them or not, but when you get up in the morning, I really feel like I have high creativity.
Okay.
So.
Do you listen to music or anything like that while you're painting?
Not all the time. Sometimes I listen to the TV in the background. I don't watch it, but I listen to it, if that's weird. But sometimes I listen to music, not all the time.
Okay. Is there anything that you're reading right now?
I'm reading? Actually, no, not at the moment.
Okay. What do you think that the most challenging thing is about your medium?
To be able for painting, because it is such a widely done medium, it's to make it different and to make it your own instead of being cliche. And I think that part of painting is very important to get across, to find your own style and your own thing and not be exactly like somebody else.
Okay.
So.
And then I guess my last question would be, what's next?
What's next? Oh, well, I am doing teaching, but I really want to keep with painting, and I want to work in more painting mediums. And I plan to go forth with even the farm stuff. I really enjoy working from the rural parts of where I come from, and I kind of plan to go more with that. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so very much, Cassie. I'd like to thank our guests, and I'd also like to thank you for your time and your interest in the professional practice and the creative explorations happening here at North Dakota State University. So thank you, and for everyone here at the Memorial Union Gallery, keep creative.